once I got over here to Honolulu and we were facing these doctors, I said to them, I said, if you want to guilt trip me, I have a history of psychedelic and recreational drugs. And they just waved it away as preposterous and said, no, this comes out of your genetics, this comes out of the environment, this is not about smoking dope in the evening.
Well, that just tore another question right out of my hands. And so you asked it yourself?
Oh, of course, because I knew that anybody hearing this news about me
was going to say, remember all the drugs he took?
Right.
Yeah.
See what happened to that guy? Here's a bad example. These scientific doctors don't hold out much hope. I mean, I think they're trained to look you right in the eye, and they do, and they say 6 to 9 months, no escape.
And so that's what they're telling you now?
That's what they're telling me now, yeah. I think what we're really talking about here, Art, is the power of love.
That's right.
And once they pull the rug out from under you and give you a death sentence, suddenly the lights come on and you realize that love is what it's all about. And love is what keeps people going. It cures diseases. It brings children into the world. It makes people able to die with dignity.
What do you believe about us? I meant to ask you that. When I say about us, we are biological, complex organisms, and the big kahuna question is whether we are more than just that, whether at death there is not an ending, but something else, a new beginning, or something, a continuation of some sort. Obviously, in your situation, you would have been reflecting on this.
Well, I think nature doesn't build patterns as complex as ourselves simply to throw them away at the edge of the grave. I really think that what a lifetime of psychedelic journeying has taught me is consciousness can exist outside of the body. And if it can exist for an hour or 6 hours, then why would nature throw the beauty of that away? So this has been an emotional turmoil for me, but at my best moments I say, foreknowledge of your own death, if that's what this is a kind of enlightenment. And I see my own life and how I gave energy to certain things, not to other things. It's a revelation. I could have treated people better. I could have been more compassionate, more kind, more open to people. You and I have had many a conversation where I was knocking various ideas or systems which I felt were flaky, and maybe I still feel they're flaky, but what I now see behind all that was the intent and the compassion, the desire to make life, whatever it is, an easier journey to whatever it sweeps us toward.
When you review your life, Terence, it's been a pretty good one mostly, hasn't it?
Oh, it's been a fantastic life. I mean, I've been many times around the world. I've written books. I know everybody. I've eaten in the best restaurants. I am surprised, Art, at how, I wouldn't say this is easy to take, but if somebody had described this happening to me, I would have assumed that I would just panic and fling my mind away, and instead there's been a wonderful consolidation and appreciation, and I'm ready for whatever comes down the pike. This has been a long, strange trip, and I want to live, but if that's not in the cards, I want to do a good job with the time left to me and learn from this experience.
So I'll try to be at Palenque in February, whenever it is. I'll try to be around and about. If I'm not, then you know I'm behind your eyelids. So I'll meet you there.
As long as we have civilization, we will have psychochemistry from here on out. So it's up to us to manage that. One way of managing it, I think, is to exhibit enough sense to come in out of the rain. So why don't we? Doesn't that seem like a reasonable high consciousness move at this point?
Doing my best.
You have it all.
I think this is impossible, Schwan. Plants are what we're talking about, and I used to sort of shy away from the word magic, but more and more I've come to like it, because it makes the right people so uptight and say, just talk about magic plants. Who's going to bust you for magic plants? You say, you mean drugs? No, just magic plants. Oh, I see. Well, you're an airhead, so... So what I'm talking about this morning is my hope that the awareness of psychedelics as a personal force in each of your lives, I don't think I have to talk to you about that. You're self-selected for being here, and you know that. What I want to talk about is how important it is to re-understand our history, to re-understand that this is us. We didn't get to this place by ourselves. What distinguishes us from the other primates is that we formed a symbiotic relationship with a mystery. And the mystery is an intelligence on this planet. We can't say how long, at least as long as we have been here, may have come from the stars, could be an extraterrestrial intellect, could be the dark recesses of our own mind that we have evolved so far from that we cannot recognize. But we might as well treat it like an extraterrestrial, because no extraterrestrial that we are going to meet is going to be as alien as this thing that we have found in ourselves. The aliens of Hollywood who come in metallic ships with an interest in our atomic power plants or our redwood trees or whatever are just like the guy living next door compared to the entities that we find in our own mind. So it doesn't do any good to psychologize the alien and say, as Jung attempted to say, well, it's the autonomous other. Autonomous psychic components in the human mind present themselves as elves, fairies, sprites, and aliens. Once you've met an elf, a sprite, a fairy, or an alien, you realize that waving the wand that says this is a component of your own psyche is just ludicrous. It's as ludicrous as me waving a wand at you and announcing that that's gotten rid of your existential validity because you're a part of my own psyche. You know, it's madness when applied to another person, and I think it's equally appropriate when applied to these entities contacted in the trance. To do that, to try to reduce it, to say, well, it's just one part of my head talking to another, is to fall into this paternalistic scientific desire to have it all be very neat. How would it be if it's not neat at all? How would it be if nobody really knows what's going on? How would it be if understanding what reality is actually depended for you upon you? And that book by Fritjof Capra that you paid $18.95 for isn't going to do it. And neither is sitting at the feet of some guru. That it's serious business. And the first thing to understand is that nobody knows. That you're not looking for a teacher. It hasn't been found out. It's not sitting on the shelf of some library. It is being figured out now. And your job is to die with the state-of-the-art understanding having emerged into your mind 5 minutes before you got there. And then, you know, that will carry you through. We need to awaken to the adventure and the richness and the openness of the game. The rules have not yet been forged. We will forge the rules ourselves, each for ourselves and each for the rest of us, by working forward through this thing. I think we're at the very beginnings of grappling and dealing with the psychedelic era. We are like people talking about evolution in 1855. You know, a few of us have read Darwin's paper. Nobody's sure exactly what it means. It's a strong intuition of something. The species thing is a problem. Nobody's quite sure. There's a new model of life and culture ahead of us, and it comes out of exploring with each other the places we have been by ourselves, the places that we have gone and been taken by the Spirit.
Take it easy, dude, but take it.
And it's the heart of it that is so hard to talk about. I mean, I skim the ideas off the depth of a sea of heart whose boundaries cannot be taken, because that's my style. But the unsaid part, the dizziness of the things unsaid. Remember the poem by Trumbull Stickney? I lean over your meaning's edge, and I feel the dizziness of the things you have not said. And the dizziness of the things unsaid, for us fans of dizziness, is ecstasy, the vertigo. Weren't we first spun in the schoolyard? Wasn't that your first altered state of consciousness? To be spun and spun until you fall down and watch the world move around? It's the dizziness of the things unsaid. That's a real problem for me. I'm a sayer. But it's worth invoking it, if only to let it resonate in the silence. So that's the end of my song.